Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk, episode 206, Truck Show Podcast, TSP. We got Lightning, we got Holman. Here we go.
Our tagline is lifted, lowered, and everything in between. And I think that's really kind of exemplifies the both of us. Like, we love anything. There's been plenty of stuff we've had on the show that it's not our jam, but we appreciate it. We appreciate the fab work, the builder, the story. It may not be our cup of tea. I mean, there's plenty of guests that Lightning's booked where I'm like, I don't know that guy, whatever. And it ends up being an amazing interview. So I think that's part of it too, is our love of just the segment that is truck. It's broad, but it's also awesome because, you know, we are passionate about the whole thing, not just our little niches that maybe are our favorite part.
Damn, son. Hey guys, one of the biggest upgrades I was able to make on Orange Slice is my lighting. Think about this. You've got your old school sealed yellow lights. You put in new United Pacific headlights, boom, quadruple the lightage. They look better, they perform better, and guess what? They're safer. So you've got LED options, you've got new headlight options, they look great. And honestly, we upgrade so many things with our trucks, why not upgrade the lighting? When you do, think United Pacific. Here's the best part. You get to save 15% off all C10 products by using code C10Talk15. Save 15% off all C10 products by using code C10Talk15. Go to upcarparts.com. That's right, upcarparts.com. I don't think you'll forget it. Save today. Thanks, guys. Give them a follow on social media too, Facebook and Instagram.
Let me tell you what Melvin Toast is packing right here. All right, we've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some bucking muscle.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man, he's a television repairman. Got the ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth clapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
What is up, my brothers, my sisters? Happy Taco Tuesday. Bringing you episode 206, Lightning and Holman Truck Show Podcast. Always fun catching up with those boys, and love what they're doing over there. They're coming up on 3 years doing the Truck Show Podcast. So if you don't listen already, check them out and see what you think. More new stuff, but they got their thumb on the button, man. I mean, Holman's job, he's always in the know, and half the time he's having to hold back some of the stuff. So check them out, Lightning and Holman over there at the Truck Show Podcast. Happy 3 years to those guys. Stoked to have them on, and again, love what they're doing. Always support the brethren. The other thing too is Lightning's got his C20 that's pretty badass. He works for Banks, so you can put it together. Check out the YouTube series. You'll kind of see, you know, what they're looking to do. C20, 8-lug, long bed, lockjaw. And, yeah, it's pretty bitchin'. What they're doing so far, not only on a social media perspective, the rendering, the YouTube, and the activity that they've got going, it's a fun build. So C20 Lockjaw, you can follow it on Instagram. You can follow it on YouTube. Instagram is LOKJAW C20. LOKJAW C20. Give Lightning a little follow there on his build, and chickadee, check it out. How about 205? Leisure Suit, Jim and Jason. You guys are digging on that one. That was a fun one. We're starting off 2021 with a bang. Leisure Suit, and then Truck Show Podcast. Now, I did sneak in a little bonus in there with Mike Alexander. So Mike is behind Flow Air Ride, and he just merged that company with Airlift Performance. You can jump back to 2020 when we did our 3-part air management series. Blake, Airlift Performance. Obviously now they're going to have some Flow tanks in the mix on that. So check out Bonus Pod. Check out 205 if you haven't already. 207 and 208, who's it going to be? 207, I think, is going to be Jason Cassidy. I reached out to him and we're set up to schedule something. Then I'll be on the road. We're going to do LST, eastbound and down to the Throwdown. We leave on Wednesday. You're invited if you've got a truck that runs and you're going to LST and it runs pretty good, or you're trailering it. But no, we're rolling out Wednesday the 24th. We meet up in Phoenix right on I-10. We roll out all day Wednesday. Follow along on social media. And then we will, Thursday's a fun day because we work hard on Wednesday, and then Thursday's a little more chill. Finally talked to Martin Bros. We're going to run over there and stop by their shop. We usually do, but they haven't really been there. So this year they're going to be there. Martin Bros. Then we go to Deep Eddy Vodka. They got kind of like a tasting house, which is pretty chill. And then Buc-ee's, and then over to Conroe. So Thursday's a little bit funner than Wednesday, but Wednesday's still fun. You're just hitting the pavement a little harder. So Eastbound and Down 2021, our 5th year of doing it, and LST's 10th year. So if you're in the area and you haven't registered already, you still should go to the show because it's a hoot. It's fun. It's a good time. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a great time. Let's jump over to some reviews real quick and get you guys on to Lightning and Holman. Who do we got here? We got Motivation from Cali Style, Speed, and Fab, 5 stars. I've been listening to you since the beginning, and now that I'm starting my business, I'm listening in the shop. I'm anxious to get my 69 GMC done in time for the Get Down 2021. I'm in Utah, where there's not much of a C10 truck scene, but maybe one day we can team up to bring that C10 fellowship here where I am. Thank you for all that you do. So it sounds like he's got Cali Style, Speed, and Fab in Utah. Bringing the Cali Style, Speed, and Fab to Utah. 5 stars. Thanks for listening, bro. Appreciate it. Good luck with the new business. And you started out, you build rad shit, and then people will be like, damn, son, I want a truck like that. And then they'll come calling. You'll be like, yep. All right, up next, C10 Godfather, 5 stars. Whoa. Thanks. That's Dino, dude. Dino's the Godfather. But all right, we'll go with it here. 5 stars by CEBU Rida. CB Rida. I've been listening to your podcast from new to old and old to new. Eventually, I get caught up. I listen to a bunch of different podcasts, but always make sure I get my fill of C10 talk. You have the right stuff to keep the nation going, tying us all together with C10 families across the globe. Excellent work, bro. BRUTE_66, Brute_66, CB Rida, 5 stars. I appreciate it. I'm going to have to check out that social. I appreciate the kind words. That was very well said. All right, let's go another one. Love the pod, 5 stars. Awesome podcast. I just started listening and now I'm addicted. I bought my first C10 a few months back, and the podcast gives me ideas and plenty of resources for my build, along with great people on the show and great knowledge. Definitely 5 out of 5, and that is Buddy 720. Money. Thank you, Buddy 720. 5 stars. Love the pod. Appreciate the review and appreciate the support. I'm glad you're digging it. One more. Best C10 podcast there is by 3rd Gen C10s. Awesome. Thank you so much. 5 stars. Best podcast there is to keep up with what's going on in the C10 world, as well as the best products. 3rd Gen C10 on YouTube. Check him out. Thanks for the review. Everybody that's left a review, we appreciate your support. Thanks for taking the time to do it. Share the pod, like the pod, love the pod. Let us know what's up. You can send me an email, Ronnie@Truck Talk Media. Leave us a review wherever you listen. We appreciate the support. We'll be back probably next week. Probably not. I don't know. I'm going on vacation, so we'll see. I'm actually got a week-long vacation, and then we get back, and then we go to LST. So we'll see how this all works out. We're going to keep cranking. You keep tuning in. We appreciate the support. Have a good one, guys. Late. All right. C10 Nation, a special treat today. How about some pod on Pod Love, the Truck Show podcast, Lightning and Holman. We're doing it. Are you ready?
The Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel and the ones that run on gasoline. The Truck Show.
show. The truck show.
Truck Show with your hosts, Lightning and Holman.
Why is your audio so bad? We're on another podcast. Why?
Because it's going through the phone.
Horrible.
I don't think you help it.
No. Well, that's why I don't say.
I like it. I like you're already talking about how
I don't know what he's doing over there.
What's going on here?
He's pushing buttons on his lap. This is why our show sucks. The audio production is so horrible.
Holman's already getting in trouble because he's singing, and we've got the show, we've got the jingle. I'm thinking maybe some of the listeners, the crossover listeners, little pod on pod action.
We have a few.
They were probably like, what the hell podcast am I listening to right now? And we got to make sure you are listening to C10 Talk. That's right. We got Lightning Holman on Truck Show podcast, making sure you guys are looking down at your phone. You're like, am I on the right podcast? But yeah, we got them. So little role reversal.
Here we go.
What's up, fellas?
How you doing,
happening?
Do you know, Ronnie, that you are one of our favorite, if not our single favorite podcaster? Are you aware of that?
That's
and if you listen to the show and you're a podcaster and you've been on our show, disregard.
Right?
Exactly. Well, I've been on the show a few times and it's been fun every time. Also, we've crossed paths at LST. I think that was about 2 years ago. We're coming up. I have tried to get both of you to go out with us. I know you're busy. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you guys get into the pod world. I think you're having a lot of fun. But when
it's our third anniversary
coming up, right? Coming up soon.
This month. That's it right now. Yeah, third anniversary this month.
We're on our 1 millionth show right now.
Yep, it feels like it.
1 millionth listener, and Lightning's mom's been listening nonstop every day. She's just cranking it. I love you.
You know what?
You're the best son I ever had.
Crazy is that she does listen, and she knows nothing about trucks.
Yeah, my mom listens too, and then she's a former HR lady, and so chastises us about all of the cringeworthy things that happen on the show. And she goes, you two could get in a lot of trouble for that. I'm like, oh yeah, I hear from our HR all the time about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, Mom, if I didn't do that, people wouldn't listen anyway. They want to escape the HR world, the office, the cubicle, the land of the what do you call the cubicle boxes? And you're like, Mom, this is why people listen. They want. We
gotta get out in the world. Exactly. You need to have a little more levity in this world and have fun talking trucks. That's what we
talking
do.
Trucks and just loosen it up a little bit. When I tell people about the pod, I could be completely wrong. I really don't even know where I'm basing this off of, but I tell people, okay, hey, Lightning was like in like 91 XFM LA, something like that, drives a Mini Cooper. and
Pirate Radio was 103.
KROQ, yeah.
And Holman is Motor Trend, behind the scenes, writer, managing a bunch of people in the world, 3 steps, away from the red button or something. He knows.
No, I'm 3 steps away from the executive washroom with the golden key.
You say that, but then every time I've ever talked, you're like, well, if I can't tell you, I'll have to kill you. Or you even do that on the pod where you're like, well, I can't really, let me just dangle this carrot, but not really. We're not going to, we can't do that. So
we eventually talk about it. So
yeah, eventually. So you've got the brain trust up there. So is that accurate? I mean, what's your guys' background?
I would say that is not completely false. It's
semi-accurate.
I would say it's true right up to the point where it's completely false.
Oh, it's completely false.
Right. Yeah. Lightning did work in radio for about 400 or 500 years.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with plate tectonics, when we were like Eurasia,
he was actually the guy pushing the continents away from each other.
Exactly. Yeah. And then radio started, and then me and Marconi were buddies.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And then he invented radio, and then I went on and did my own thing.
That was a weird radio reference right there.
Right. I was at K-Rock.
Yeah.
I was at K-Rock, KROQ, the legendary rock station in LA, known for breaking such bands as maybe David Bowie, Depeche Mode, New Order, Bad Religion, Pennywise, those types of bands, Blink 182, on and on and on. And I produced the Kevin and Bean Show for 18 years. I was there for a total of 25.
And Kevin and Bean Show was their morning show, Hall of Fame for both those guys. In fact, Kevin from the Arizona area, from Phoenix, I think, right?
Casa Grande.
Casa Grande. And then
is it Casa Grande? That's how he said it. Or is it Casa Grande?
Well, technically, it's the big house. We just, for the translation of the white people,
there you go.
Big house. But yeah, it's Casa Grande. But it should be
Casa Grande.
It should be Casa.
Right, of course it should be.
Yeah. And now was that nationally syndicated? Because I know that I've heard of that before. Like, I mean, I feel like at least the Kevin and Bean or
we went through bouts of syndication, meaning at one time we were at Live 105 and we were at a station in Chicago, etc. But the guys liked it. I didn't like it. I wanted to stay the local LA station and be able to talk about LA things because after all, we have 14 million people in LA and Orange County and it's a big market and there was no reason to water that down. So when they syndicated us and we were in all these other markets, management and the morning show thought, oh, we should probably just do national stories. And I hated that. So I rebelled against that and I wanted us to just be
and then you got fired.
Morning show. Right. I did not get fired.
Oh, reassigned.
I left the morning show in 2008. I was there from 91 to 2008. And then I started a digital division because I thought that might be the future. You know, did
you just hit your mic?
I did, yeah.
That was, you always get up me for being a radio professional or hitting your mic.
I don't really sit this close because I'm trying to be by this right here. So I can touch Ronnie right there.
That's also weird.
The shock tower is doing a good job because we didn't really even hear it. We saw it, but we didn't really hear it.
Yeah. Well, you'll hear when I do this. There we go. That's what it's
What is wrong with you?
It's not that bad.
He's trying to be me on the show.
No, he's breaking all the rules. Now I get to be the guest. He's like, I'm going to be
right. So he's going to misbehave. 100%. Yeah, we're swapping roles. I'm going to become dad tonight. So
I think we hit. We went back to the old days. So he's like loving it. I'm in the 90s. I'm in the heyday of LA radio. And
except Zoom doesn't have the filter to remove all the gray. So that's problem.
How dare you? So we were huge in the 90s, and
were you big in Japan though?
We were not big in Japan. Oh. No, like we were huge in Europe, and bands would come over and see us all the time. We were the first stop on everyone's tour, and we were hanging out.
What did it feel like to be relevant once?
It's weird because I had a road trip today, Ronnie, where I went up to Guy Fieri's house, his ranch up in Santa Rosa, California, and installed some equipment. Which we can get to later, but
that's the chef guy with the white hair, right? For the audience,
that's the guy. Yeah, the coolest dude in the world, and into cars, into diners.
I went on vacation with him once, which was weird.
Holman, story time for you later. Okay, go Lightning.
Yeah,
that's fine. I'm just gonna let him roll with it because I'm just gonna drink my Dr. Pepper.
On the way back, Ronnie. On the way back, it's me and a cameraman. It's one of the newer cameramen that we hired at work, and he knows very little about me and my past, and he's quizzing me. And as I'm going down memory lane, I'm having all these crazy stories. It's all pouring out of me. Hey, there's a new guy to talk to instead of Holman. And what are you doing with the flag?
I love Texas. Just want people to know.
He's got his Texas flag on.
Texas.
Nice.
Right, because our listeners are awesome.
LSG.
What prompted that?
Just you taking all the mic time. So I'm just going to amuse myself over here.
So did the young guy like the stories, or was it because he was like?
Yeah. So, but the reason I bring that up is not to gloat, but hanging out with guys like Fred Durst and Jonathan Davis from Korn.
Gloating.
I am totally gloating.
Humble brag.
Oh, you hear that?
Yeah,
you hear that on the mic?
That's our roll-up door outside of our studio going up.
Yeah, we can.
We're at we record at the Motor Trend offices, and they're moving cars in and out right now. So.
Sounds like thunder on our side.
And if you haven't listened to their show, you guys, you'll get to hear about their studio a lot, about the AC not working. Ants in the studio. I think that was one of them. So yeah, there's a little bit, they are constantly hammering on the studio, but all right, Fred Durst is hanging out and you're on the, oh no, never mind. Okay. So you're coming back. What you got?
One of our listeners sent us an ant farm because our ant problem in the old studio was so bad. Like literally we would be on the mic and an ant would crawl into my beard while I was doing the show.
That's true. That happened on several occasions. And our guests would be attacked by ants.
Yeah, and we had what we called the casting couch. You can only imagine. It was a couch we found in the corner of a warehouse. Took me a long time to clean it up, and I covered myself in protective gear. In fact, I was protected for COVID, pre-COVID.
Did you have a black light with that thing, for Christ's sakes? Before and after?
No. Nobody needs that kind of negativity in their life.
So listen, to put a button on this, it was fun times, and I didn't realize that in the 90s I had the keys to the castle, never opened the door. Like I never went through it. I was working so hard to make our morning show #1 in LA that I never really had a chance to absorb or to go out and be Lightning from K-Rock. I just was in the midst of it. It wasn't until long after I left I said, holy crap, like I was at every concert in every club and hanging out with every celebrity and didn't care at that time. And so now it's neat to go back and look at those photos, but at the time,
now that you're a reborn celebrity on the pod, now you're enjoying it a little different. Now you
no. Can I tell you a true story, Ronnie? Can I tell you a true story that happened? So the first year we went to SEMA with the podcast, I get a text from this guy and he goes, "Dude, somebody recognized me in the elevator." And I'm like, "Yeah, really?" Well, like, "Are we getting that big?" And he goes, "You're with the Truck Show podcast, aren't you?" And Lightning's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Are you Holman?" And that actually happened. It happened. So rad.
Deflating.
Yeah, dude thought I was Holman. Yeah, that's funny. So good times, but here we are, and left the radio.
Do I get to tell my life story?
Tell your
okay.
Let's right now, I'm getting out of it. I'm ramping out of me.
Fading out.
You're
fading out.
So what happened was, So Ronnie, what happened is that I had started a couple podcasts with other DJs at the radio station, but my passion were cars and trucks. I had built a couple SEMA cars and trucks, from BMWs to motorcycles. To trucks and whatnot. And Holman was involved in a couple of them early on, and I knew I wanted to do a truck show podcast. I knew the trucks were the future. Trucks weren't going anywhere. Even with electrification, trucks were here to stay for a while, right? But I knew that I didn't have the depth of knowledge to carry an entire show myself. I could be the yucky yuck guy. I could be the sound effect guy. I could produce it. I could give some color commentary, but I needed an expert. And Holman was driving home from some event one day. Was it Vegas or test driving something? And he calls me and he says, "Hey, so I'm driving along." And I go, "Wait, stop. Are you going to pitch to me right now doing a truck show podcast or doing a truck podcast?" And he goes, "Why?" And I go, "Because I'm about to pitch you the same thing." And we literally pitched each other the same idea on the same call at the same time. It was serendipitous.
Yeah. So long story short, and I'll make it. It'd probably be long story, medium length actually. I was driving and I'd been thinking about, been listening to podcasts, thought it was in white space and trucks, had heard some of the automotive stuff. And you're the king of like super niche. And I was like, I want something broader than that. I want something that's old trucks and new trucks, something lifted and lowered, something that's relevant to news and events. And thought there's nothing really in the automotive podcast space that's like that. And, my history, I'll be 18 years at, Motor Trend. We call it Pepsi 10 because it's been named everything. Peterson, EMAP, Prime Media, Source, Interlink, Pepsi. That's how we remember all of our previous owners. But I'm like a cockroach that just doesn't die. And so one of my strategies for staying was to figure out, with the decline of print, some other format to put content out. And so I pitched a business plan to our company, and I thought, I'm not going to be the guy who does audio production and all that kind of stuff, but I know content. I said, I wish I knew a radio guy that liked cars and trucks. And went, oh, wait a minute. So it's true. I called him, and about, I said, don't pitch it to your work, because I think that which was Entercom that at that point that bought out K-Rock from CBS. And I said, pitch it to mine, because I think it has more legs being with Motor Trend and Discovery. So that's what we did. We put a business plan together. We pitched it. And about 4 weeks later, we had a breakfast at Norm's and started jotting out the first segments of the show and the format from a Norm's Diner, at breakfast one day. And when you start a podcast, you have to figure out, is there going to be what's your differentiator? Are you one talking head? Do you have guests? Are you half hour? Are you bi-monthly? Are you whatever? And we knew we wanted to do a weekly show. And I thought that what would separate us from everybody else was the fact that, Lightning has his radio background in morning shows. And I thought, let's do one like a morning show that is for trucks. So as people are trying to find something new, as the death of terrestrial radio happens, or they haven't really found that local connection maybe on Sirius, can we provide something for a hobby that they like? And so that's sort of the format we ran with. And people in the beginning thought our name was really stupid. And they're like, why would you call it the Truck Show Podcast? This should be called the Four Wheeler and Truck Trend Network Podcast, right? And I'm like, no. I'm not doing it if you take my idea.
It was almost truck nuts.
It was almost truck nuts. That was one of the things we definitely discussed.
Aren't we glad it's not?
Well, we decided, if you want a truck show podcast, what are you going to search? So we searched it and it was all available. I'm like, let's do that. So
truck and show and podcast.
Yeah, totally an SEO play, and made it super simple. And when you type in a truck show on any of the services, basically we come up, which is awesome. So that's sort of how we got started. I've like I said, I've been here for a long time. I was started out Trucking Magazine, went on to be the tech editor at Four Wheeler Magazine. I was the editor-in-chief at Diesel Power Magazine. I wrote a bunch of SIPs like JK Garage and 4x4 Garage.
That stands for what, SIP?
It's a special one-time magazine. How about that?
I see.
Special in production magazine stuff. And then I went on to take over the Truck Trend Group, which included Mini Truckin' and Truckin' and a lot of other titles, Diesel Power. and then eventually got back to four-wheeler. And so now I basically oversee all the content across Motor Fence Truck and Off-Road Group. And so you can look at me as the guy who works hard to continue to bring you the best content I can with what I have, or you can look at me as the guy that oversaw, all the magazines dying. And they're not my fault. I just happen to be the guy that had to be there and deliver the news. So you can hate me or you can love me, but that's my backstory. I'd like to think that I'm, somewhat knowledgeable in the truck world and try and bring it to the podcast every week.
I don't think you need to be apologetic. I mean, look, just like radio is dying,
yeah,
and podcasting is the future. The print is having a rough go of it, and
no, we all love our magazine. I mean,
transitioned into the digital age pretty seamlessly.
You pitch it, and was it an easy pitch? Did they buy it?
No. Nobody understood podcasts at the company. To this day, we're the only podcast here. Although there's been kind of people asking about how are you doing it? What's this? What's that? We're profitable. We've got great sponsors. Nissan, for example, is our presenting sponsor. We've got Dex, who's been with us almost 3 years. We have AutoZone's Duralast line. So we've been kind of pulling in a lot of great new people that cover a lot of area. But in the beginning, they didn't get it. They're like, well, why would you do a podcast? And my whole thing was, well, video is kind of medium engagement and really expensive. And social is really cheap and now really crappy engagement since all the social platforms turn down the tap and they want you to pay to access the audience that you help them build. Literally, we were paid by some of these platforms to help build an enthusiast base. And then basically that enthusiast base was taken from us as a big thank you. So we need something in the middle, something that was affordable to produce, but was high engagement and lived between those things in our offerings. And I thought podcasting would be perfect. Thought I found the right white space, and they just weren't sold. It took some convincing, and they said, all right, well, you've got a year to make it profitable. And we were profitable in the first 3 months.
Totally.
Can I tell a funny story?
Lightning, I need a soapbox little jingle. Because he was on a soapbox right there. We need a little soapbox jingle. When I hit the button, it's like,
I don't have
suds it up, soap it down, because Holman's on his soapbox.
Ooh,
Yeah, we could jingle that up.
Record this.
And I actually like your soapbox. I like it because that's what I dig about your show is way more than you probably even lead on to. Whereas Lightning probably leads on that he knows more than he does. So between the two of you, it's a great balance.
Yeah,
it's definitely a yin and a yang.
Hold on. I'm giving you the timeout symbol. I'm the first one, Holman. Please don't throw me under the bus. I always ask questions. I admit. Oh, don't even.
Go ahead.
That was him in the wheel well, getting me stuck between the duels and then just his body flinging around inside. Yeah, it was.
I just make my own sound effects on the fly, dude. I don't have that background. I wish I did. All right.
I'm just saying that I never pretend to know more than I do. And I always ask Holman, what does that look?
Go ahead. I didn't say anything.
I always continue. I asked just now, what is SIP? I'm always going, Holman, what is that?
We're just busting balls. We're busting balls.
Oh, good. All right. Good.
This is what you don't understand about Lightning.
Hey, Rock, for 20 years, we're going to bust balls.
He has a heart. He has a heart, but he's extremely sensitive. And it's almost funny that he is, there's certain things that I know I can say, or even listeners know they can say, we'll email, and it really bums him out for sometimes a week or more at a time. Like he really gets hurt about it. And I'm like, dude, let it go.
He wears his emotions on his cap or on his bank sweatshirt. Either way. Yes.
He definitely wears them on his tall black socks. That's all I got to say.
I believe you both have kids, right? So both family guys.
Yep.
Okay. So here's the funny thing. I think I've heard you say, you're not really getting paid, and you look back, you've built an amazing platform, a fun show, a successful podcast from a guy who listens and is in the podcast realm. Do you ever think like, what the hell were we thinking? We're working so hard at kind of when I hear your background, it's like how many print magazines you've been, and you're the guy, Holman, who keeps working. Holman's upper left for me. So I'm looking here, and then I got Lightning down below. So, and then same Lightning, you're like, hey man, I didn't even really enjoy, the 90s when I was in it. I had the keys to the castle. You guys are working really, really hard. Do you ever look back and be like, God damn, we're working our asses off for this. But at the end of the day, I still think you're having so much fun that it's still worth it. But you're family guys, so that's the balance.
Yeah. Okay, so one of us gets paid, and the other one is just part of his salary. I'll let you figure that out.
Hey guys, I've got Bobby from PSI Conversion on the phone looking at LS LT based motor swaps. Bobby, why should we choose PSI Conversion?
Ronnie, our harnesses are made right here at home in the U.S. Our product lineup includes the early 90s Gen 2 LT motors, Gen 3, Gen 4 LS Vortec motors, and Gen 5 LT and LT4 packages. We have transmissions ranging from automatic 4, 6, 8 speeds, and soon to be released our new 10-speed, in addition to all the manual options out there.
Wow, you guys cover everything. How do you deal with intimidation factor when a customer is doing their first LS or LT swap?
Great question, Ronnie. But the thing is, there's nothing that we haven't seen here in the LS and LT world. If you grab almost any motor out of a junkyard, you want to Frankenstein it build together, or even supercharge it. Leave it to our sales team to help guide you along the way to the products that you need for your restoration. We have over 10 years of experience in the market, a tech department that is available to help troubleshoot and diagnose any issues or questions that you have along the way while installing your PSI products. Couple that with a staff that is going to be standing by our product with pride, made right here in the U.S. to a GM quality standard. Our team is happy to get you wired up and fired up.
And don't forget, guys, use code C10TALK and you'll save 5% off your order. PSIconversion.com. PSIconversion.com. You want to save 5%? Use code C10TALK at checkout. Thanks, Bobby.
Pro Performance works hard to bring you the best products for C10s, but also keep up with the people behind the trucks. Like Ronnie says, the people are the best part of this hobby, so we're going to be at Lone Star Throwdown in February to peep some cool trucks, sling a few parts, and shake some hands. You can take advantage of rad cash and carry deals when you stop by the booth. Keep Pro Performance in mind for top brands like Bear Brakes, UMI Suspension, Shot Wheels, and Boyd Welding fuel tanks. It's all on azproperformance.com.
I've got Kathy White, Classic Performance Products, CPP on the line. Kathy, how's it going?
Hey, Ronnie, what's up?
What's up? What's new?
We've got a ton of things for the C10 community. First things first, our 2.5-inch Extreme X10 drop spindle. So we've upgraded the current modular spindle to modern technology. This new X10 spindle is a one-piece forged, but it utilizes strong, modern, bolted, internally sealed bearing hub assembly. So it's low maintenance. It doesn't move the wheels out, and you can use big brakes from us or any aftermarket big brakes out there in the market.
That's awesome. What else is new?
So we have actually gone back and redesigned our aluminum fuel tanks. As you know, our fuel tanks are the thickest, strongest, and largest capacity in the industry. But now you can actually use the same tank for either a carbureted or a fuel injection application. 63 to 72, it's 20 gallons. And for 73 and newer, 22-gallon capacity.
How about that coilover kit? You guys must be killing it with that thing.
That is such a great kit. It's fully bolt-on. It's easy to install. Strongest tubular arms in the market, available with either upper and lower or just the lowers or just a coilover kit by themselves. All the mounting brackets that you need, and it also comes with dual adjustable coilover shocks. So it's really responsive. It's up to you however you want to tune the compression or the rebound. It's perfect if you're just cruising on the streets, and it's proven on the track.
Well, that's what we like. So if you need spindles, the new X10, fuel tanks, coilovers, they've got it. Classic Performance Products, CPP. And don't forget, use code C10TALK, C10TALK at checkout and save 10%. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Okay, so one of us gets paid, and the other one is just part of the salary. I'll let you figure that out. So we're not totally working for free or slave labor or anything. Yes, it's a passion. We both love podcasting. We love the show. We've really poured our heart into it. I mean, we've got, something like 890 reviews and, 4.9 rated with 35 or something of those were negative. And some of those came from another podcast campaign, right? That shouldn't even be on there, but it is what it is. And those bother us. Somebody will give us a 2-star review. And you're like, really? Why a 2-star? Just give us the 1, damn it. Or somebody gives you a 4 and you're like, listen, we're doing a free show once a week that takes us about, 15 extra hours a week to put together. We do it because we love the industry. We love our listeners. We love the podcast space. And somebody is going to take time out of their day to bash you. And you're kind of like, what's the point? Just move on. Why the hate? And so those kinds of things, they bother both of us. But at the end of the day, I look back on this. We've done a lot of fun stuff already, not as much with COVID as I wanted to, but they'd be going to the LST and Daytona Truck Meet. We've taken some trips out to the desert. We've done podcasting on the fly. We've had the top executives at the best companies in automotive, OEs, head designers, chief engineers, CEOs on the show. And we've had some dude who invented a widget in his garage, or somebody who owns an event somewhere, some entrepreneurial story, or a guy who's a blue collar, drives a combine or a truck. Like, we really try and cover it all, because the passion for us is the storytelling about everybody in the truck space. It's not just lifted or lowered or off-road or bag or whatever. It's everything. But when I look back, at my career, yeah, it's been a slog. I loved every second of it. I've been to wheeling in the Sahara sand dunes, which we did on an episode in Africa. I've been to Europe.
And you bust me for showing off.
I've been to New Zealand. I've been to Australia. I've raced multiple times in the Baja 1000. Those are all experiences that this job has given me that I would never trade for anything. So when it's all said and done, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's still the best job in the world as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, there's a balance with family and stuff, and you got to figure out. Fortunately, my wife understands kind of like what keeps me happy and what I need, and she's very supportive in letting me go chase that stuff. And my oldest kid, a 13-year-old daughter, like, she listens to the show. She is on our social, so like I have to watch what I say and all that, because she'll like it or go, Dad, you shouldn't have said, that kind of stuff. And so she kind of keeps you in check. But all that stuff is really important. Family, obviously, huge, but the career's been amazing to me, so I can't complain. It hasn't always been easy. The media landscape's changed, but if it weren't for the podcast, maybe I would think differently. But this is such a fun, creative medium that we can interact with people that it's just great still.
Well, just like kind of the essentially everything has changed. Suds it up and lather it down. Holman was on another soapbox. Dude, who cares if
you're recording this? I'm telling you.
Who cares if you get a shitty review? I tell those guys, hey, listen, eat a dick. You can't realize how much we're working on it. And
we have corporate sponsors. Hard to say eat a dick.
I know.
I'm just gonna say.
But let me just tell you this is. I respect when a guy, if he leaves me a one, or he or she, I don't know, whoever, right? If they gender neutral, if they
non-binary,
non-binary, general, what is it? Tranny fluid is now gender neutral juice. So it's shifting juice. So it's like, hey, I just say, if you're gonna leave a low star or 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever, go ahead. Just say why. I respect that so much more.
Yeah,
guys just hitting 1 star, 2 star, or whatever. But at the end of the day, you think about like a guy who's got 25 years in radio, you're always going to have haters, but I think the landscape has changed so much to where people sit behind a keyboard and they feel like they wouldn't do that to your face. And if they did,
no,
they'd probably be able to talk it out and have a beer and just be like, whatever. Well, people just, it's so,
and a lot of times
to hate.
We talk about this a lot of times. People don't even really mean what they're saying. They're just trying to have the funniest, comment first, like it's a race to the bottom. Like, for example, we just got a review that was 2 stars. And I'm like, why 2? Like, why just give us the 1? Like, let us taste our medicine. And his comment was, the show is informative, but incredibly cringe. The awful sound effects, the title music, and seemingly fake enthusiasm was a big turnoff for me personally. Like, all right, sorry we weren't your cup of tea.
But here's the thing, that guy's a dick. And here's why. Here's why. And I don't want to...
We know we're an acquired taste. We get it.
No, but listen, like, we're not NPR. This is not This American Life. I'm an ex-morning show guy with a bunch of bells and whistles at my disposal. And, you should be like, I don't have a cowbell. But this is a free show. We didn't send you, we didn't sell you an exhaust manifold where the bolts don't line up to the block. You know what I mean? And then we don't accept we don't take your phone call when you try to return it. We're a free goddamn show. You know what I'm saying? You blast us.
I mean, we have people who have given us like 3 stars because the sponsor reads are annoying or something. And you're going, that dude, like, nobody asked you to download the show and listen, and nobody asked you for any money or anything. Like, those kinds of things are just frustrating because we're just giving it our all. And we're not everybody's cup of tea. Like, I'll tell people, listen to a couple shows, because we're like a 16-year-old who tastes beer for the first time. It's probably not going to be your favorite beverage, but by 18, hell yeah.
Yeah. We are definitely an acquired taste. There's without question.
Yeah.
And some people want to go back to the cubicle, and they can. If they want to cut loose, they can turn it on. They can have a good time. And that's really what it's all about. You're giving them an hour plus long show, a weekly show. You're working your butt off. you said, hey, maybe we do an extra, 10, 15 to 20 hours a week, which I don't even know how you can find it between both of your real jobs and family. Do you do a lot of prep?
Not as much as we should. So my typical prep, like I think I do most of the upfront stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Basically download all the emails that we want to read. I do all the show guests, basically outreach. I probably book like 80% of the guests. We have a great program called Acuity where you can just send a self-scheduling link and there's a bunch of questions. So somebody picks out a date on your calendar that you have open. They put all their personal information. It sends us an email and a text, sends them an email and a text. Makes that way easier, but still going out and getting people and kind of promoting the show. I go on sales calls for the show. I update the decks with all the, advertising mumbo jumbo and statistics and quarterly updates. And then, we come in, we do a show and we still have to, edit it. We both listen to it at least twice. And then we still have to do the tag sheets and uploads, check everything on Libsyn and wherever else that the podcast goes, as well as post everything on social. So yeah, it's a lot of work. And, we still have other segments. So going back to, we do it like a morning show, we're different and we have like bumpers and segments. So we have, maybe 40 different segments. We do like 3 to 5 a show and we kind of make it different all the time, but we have like inbox. So we need to have email. We have our 5-star hotline. So we have to do voicemail. We have a thing called Know Your Note where people send us their exhaust sounds. We have to guess what kind of engine or what kind of vehicle it is. So that takes a lot of prep time to get the formatting of that down where it plays nicely with our system, all that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of work.
I think we know who's on salary and who's getting paid. So nice work.
Thank you.
Not saying anything.
So lighting prep work, what are you doing here?
Nothing. I just sit back and let Holtman do everything.
Yeah, it's working. It's working
So
out.
I will tell you that you don't have a partner. So, it's different when you have a tandem. There are times that we want to definitely punch the other one in the throat. I mean, quite honestly, there are times we brawl in the parking lot and we come pull up our big boy pants and we get a show out and then we're mad at each other when we leave. And there's other times where it's like, dude, did you blah, blah, that was great. And the vibe is totally, but the thing is like, you have your window and you have to figure out how to put all that stuff aside so you can have an entertaining show and hopefully your audience doesn't know that you're mad at each other for something. But
no, listen, stop for a second. That happens like 1 every 60 shows. That's not very often. Usually we spend 4 hours in the studio together.
Or longer.
And then we wrap up and then we go out in the parking lot and then we talk
for a while.
Freaking half an hour.
And then before COVID, we'd go get dinner. It'd be like 1 a.m. We'd be going to In-N-Out before they closed or whatever.
So as far as prep, we've got guests. If I know.
Oh, I know what you do for prep. I got it. He'll say, why don't we have this person on? And then I go, okay, go book them.
And then I do.
Lightning,
we have a guest on this show that
we have guests on because Holman's high and you're a little low. So I'm kind of trying to turn you up when you.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me try this. Hold on.
He changes his here's the soundboard
check
stuff.
1 2 1 2. Am I getting louder? Check 1 2. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. You're louder.
Well, it's because Holman's really loud. No, you're good. You're good. Okay. So how do you pick? How do you, because sometimes I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. Something will happen and I'm like, oh, damn. I saw it on social. I need to jump on this and make it happen.
Oh, we do the same.
Well, a great example would be a great example is that we have Mike Alexander on the show, and Mike just sold his company Flow Air Ride to Airlift. So we both know Mike. We get him on the show. We're like, this is breaking news. Anyone that loves Airlift, anyone that loves Flow Air Ride, they need to know this. No different than when AccuAir was purchased by Arnaut. And that was huge news. And like anyone that has a lowered vehicle knows about AccuAir, right? So let's talk to Arnaut because we guarantee no one's ever heard of Arnaut, right? And they hadn't.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that they were a huge,
as big as they are, doing
a huge company doing aftermarket air suspension. So we do that. If there's TRX news, we broke TRX news.
We do
on this show.
We do bonus episodes. Sometimes we'll slot something in. A lot of times we try and do 1 to 2 guests per show, depending on length, because our shows are pretty long. They're about 2 hours. That seems to be where people like them. And, we usually have 1 or 2 interviews banked. So if something falls out, we always have 1 in the can. And we have probably maybe 5, 10 people in the Rolodex where if we needed to call them in an emergency to come be a guest, like they're regular, they're on, and they're always happy to come on and, obviously have something interesting to say. So that's pretty, much how we handle contingencies, right? I mean, it's like, oh, call so-and-so, shit.
Right.
You have such a broad ability to chase so many different things and both your passions as well. So like a Jeep off-road, obviously Lightning works for banks. So there's so many things going on all the time where, like you said, I'm more of a niche thing. I can kind of focus in on this. I don't even know that I could do it with that much, or I would find that I would be like, shit, this is the 6th C10 or the 6th, Power Stroke thing that I've done in a row or whatever, Duramax or Jeep.
But sometimes that's what you got,
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm an off-road guy at heart, but I still have my F100, my 67 that someday will be running that's lowered, right? And he's a lower truck guy and street guy at heart, and he's had big lifted trucks, right? So it's funny that we kind of love the little space that we do, but we both have experience, branching out into the other side, which is one of the reasons we wanted to make sure that this show covered the whole truck market. And our tagline is lifted, lowered, and everything in between. And I think that's really kind of exemplifies the both of us. Like, we love anything. There's been plenty of stuff we've had on the show that it's not our jam, but we appreciate it. We appreciate the fab work, the builder, the story. It may not be our cup of tea. I mean, there's plenty of guests that Lightning's book where I'm like, I don't know that guy, whatever. And it ends up being an amazing interview. So I think that's part of it too, is our love of just the segment that is truck, it's broad, but it's also awesome because we are passionate about the whole thing, not just our little niches that maybe are our favorite parts.
Well, Ronnie, do you find that
you can't interview him? We're his guests.
No, I know that. But
okay, just checking.
So is that we love when we walk through SEMA, for example. You've been to SEMA, I'm sure. We walk through SEMA and we geek out on everything there. We just love it all. We love. I consider myself a mechanical guy, but up to the point where I have no business screwing with the transmission. But I'll get in there, I'll get dirty, no problem, every day, all day. But I have such appreciation for true mechanics, for mechanical engineers, for electrical engineers, et cetera. So much so that I've surrounded myself at my day job with them. And before that, I would just geek out at every show I could get to. So I just love it all, and Holman does as well. I love his trucks. I wouldn't own a Jeep JL. It's not my thing, but I love his truck. I love it. I love riding in it. I love when he takes me out to the desert, et cetera. So yeah, I think it's interesting. And we always have this debate about who are our listeners. Are our listeners, do they love all things truck? Or are they like Ford Chevy guys where you talk to a Ford guy about a Chevy and he's going to beat you? Like you can't even discuss the bow tie in his presence, because we've talked to listeners who have said like, oh, my dad's a Ford guy. And, my boyfriend to be drove a Chevy over and he's like, get out, like serious, get out of my face. We don't have Chevys in this family. And so we've debated like who I guess we've just
sounds like a horrible family.
But it's they're legit.
Hold on, what was that Florida story where they argued and when you shot the other dude at the turkey dinner table or something like that?
Over Thanksgiving, they were in a Ford Chevy debate, and one shot the other one.
I'm like, we never go that far here.
Right, Florida, man. But my point is that we have done our best to bring if it's truck, we love it, except for Honda Ridgeline. That is out of
not a truck,
right?
I do have that you are that you own a Honda Ridgeline, or you did at one time.
You know what? If he owned a Honda Ridgeline, he would actually have more credibility as a truck guy than the Mini currently owns.
I think there was a picture. How dare you? I've got a Honda Ridgeline with a Mini Cooper on the back, like it's in tow, and then that's where you were going to the next truck meet. That's what I was told. That's what Holman told
not me. Although
totally true.
Originally, what I wanted to do when I built my 08 Dually, and Holman knows this, I wanted to build a roof rack where I could put a. What's that?
What on 08? What Dually? An 08 Ford.
Sorry, Chevy.
Silverado 3500 HD with a 6.6 Duramax. Yeah. So had this big Silverado, and I wanted to go, and I wrote several proposals to Chevrolet to give me a Bolt, a Lightning Bolt. Yeah, get it. So they didn't really care about promoting the Bolt because they don't make any money on the Bolt. They take a loss, from what I understand. So they weren't giving them away. But originally I wanted to design so I could, go to a big city or like a Hollywood type area and then offload my Bolt and be able to cruise around the town the way that you do with like a Harley on the back of an RV, when you go to a small town, or a Jeep in tow. And
you just wanted to have to need like 12-inch in diameter sway bars.
Right? Yeah, you do.
I just want to, I would have wanted you to do that, put the Bolt on top of the rack of that, and then not have, the thing about my friend Lightning here And
here comes the insult. You ready?
When you get to know him, no, this isn't an insult. This is true. When you get to know him, like,
well, they backhanded compliment.
So insults can be true.
Like, he's so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about what he's doing and so excited that he doesn't always have the follow-through of the details. So I would imagine that he would put that thing on top, and the first overpass he went on the highway, ripped the whole thing right on off.
Dude, that would be legendary. That would be legendary.
I would map my route.
I mean, come on. You could see yourself doing that.
GM would love you for that. Oh,
so here's the deal. He would map his route out, and then Waze would tell him that there was an accident, and this is the way he should go. He would forget about what was on the back and then go take it down some road with a low bridge.
I don't use Waze. I hate Waze.
He needed a 3,500
now we know why.
lowered bagged with airlift performance for Michael Alexander and flow tanks, and then you could put the bolt on the back. So why don't you do that now? I mean, you could, but here, we digress. So have you ever had a guess where you didn't agree or you didn't think one was bringing to the table and it's like, nah, I'm not feeling it. Nah, I'm not feeling it. Finally, you're like, all right, whatever, dude. I don't care.
No, never, not once.
No, that's funny that you asked that because I think there were times where we, either him or I or both, kind of signed somebody up and were lukewarm on. And every time we've been able to have, I mean, we've definitely had a couple where somebody was quieter and we had to pull them along. I think of one aftermarket manufacturer that makes things that secure things. I don't know if you remember that interview, but are
you talking about you had to pull me along?
No. We had to pull the guest along.
No, but I don't think that's what you're asking, Ronnie. You're saying, did we disagree on a guest, right?
But I see what he did. He rolled into my next question without me even asking it. So have you ever had a guest that you two didn't agree on to have? It sounds like no. Okay, so now it sounds like yes. And then
no. Wait, stop, Ronnie. Let me clarify.
Let him ask the question.
No, let me clarify that for a sec. So what happens is that if he pitches a guest that I don't know, I'm unfamiliar with, and there's like super hardcore Jeep. Again, I've been open and like I love Jeeps. I don't know much about them, so I'm a little reluctant to just sign right on. But I do, and they're almost always fascinating, and I want to know more because I nerd out on again mechanical engineering, and most of these guys are insanely skilled or they're entrepreneurs, which I love. So we have got along during and after the fact on all guests, 100% of them.
Yeah. What I was saying was we've definitely had it where we maybe didn't agree, but sometimes the guest you have is the guest you have, and so you have to make the best out of it. What I was saying is the only time that we ever had like an issue with a guest, and it's only been a couple times, is when he and I had to kind of guide the interview so that guest was interesting or could come out of their shell a little bit, because it was like, hey, so tell me about your new product line. Oh yeah, it's great. We just released this widget. Okay, great. So how many colors? What's the price? Where's it available? Oh, you could get on our website. That kind of stuff. And there wasn't like the passion behind the product. So those are hard. But that's the only time where he and I looked at each other like, okay, we really have to push this along, or we have to pull it out of the guest. But we've never had one where a guest was like a complete dick or anything like that, where we're like, you know what, this isn't worth it. Peace out. We've used all of our interviews and everybody has been great. And we've had people that our listeners actually hate, like will write us and say, we hate that guy. Don't ever have him on. And for me, that's gold.
Hey guys, I have Jim Flanders, Brothers Trucks on. Jim, what's the latest?
It's the same old thing over here. We're grinding away, selling truck parts, and really focusing on our YouTube channel.
The cool thing is, myself included, I'll check that channel out. It's a great customer service, a benefit to us. When we buy something, we can get in depth and know a little bit more and know the ins and outs, especially to watch it even before you go to install the product.
Yeah, absolutely. And we built a tech center in the back of the warehouse. So we literally bring in new products, we'll build them onto a truck or put them onto a truck, and we can see instantly how much work it's going to be, how easy it is. And we put that out to our YouTube channel so people, like you said, they'll be able to look at it and go, you know what, I can do that job in a day, or I can do that job in an hour. And it basically just completes a whole package of not just selling the product to a customer, but really backing them up when it comes to showing them how to do it and just making sure that they've got everything they need to get the truck back on the road or keep it on the road.
Like I said, I've watched it myself. I love it. Now, I heard you're rearranging some stuff over there. What's going on in the warehouse?
Yeah, we actually, this last year, we've been building a ton of inventory. And for a long time, we've always said, if you don't have it on the shelf, it's hard to sell it. People want to have it on the shelf. They want to know they can call and get it out the door that day. So, we're just trying to be more efficient. We're trying to have more inventory on hand. And, we've done a really good job at building inventory over the last 25 years. So I think that's what's putting us in the lead in this truck market for sure.
I totally agree. Brothers Trucks, you guys, for all your Chevy and GMC truck parts. And don't forget, they're putting new stuff on their YouTube channel all the time, so check it out. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, I got Greg Carpy on from Dakota Digital. Greg, it seems like a lot of people are intimidated by the installation. What are you seeing out there?
I hear and see the same thing on the phones at the shows. You know, a lot of guys say, these look cool. You know, I want this, but, you know, I have to bring it somewhere. I can't put them in. But the reality is, it is doable at home in your own garage. I mean, you've put them in 2 trucks, and I would almost guarantee putting the gauges in Orange Slice was easier and faster installation than Yellowstone was.
It really is. You have your stock harness, you trim it up, and then everything goes right into the control box, and step by step, the instructions are there. And the support behind the gauges is also with you guys.
Definitely. Like you said, we're going to use some wires from the original harness. The senders are going to come with their own. So we give you what has to change over. And if you get elbows deep in this thing and just feel overwhelmed, give us a call. We've got tech guys on the phone in the building with me here in South Dakota. We've got some YouTube videos. You know, you've got quite a tremendous group of people to draw upon in the C10 Nation that have all done this sort of thing. So you can get it done one way or the other. We can help you out.
Most definitely. And another common question, I'm sure, is what about an LS or an LT base swap?
Yeah, we're seeing a ton of that as you are. And we've got some really nice modules that'll plug in right into the diagnostic port and basically ask for a bunch of info straight from the computer and put it into the cluster. It's a big time saver, cleaner installation. Love them.
The creature comforts and the modern technology's there. You get the look, you get the style. Thanks for all your support, Greg. Dakota Digital, dakotadigital.com. Marquet has been in business for over 40 years. It all started in the original owner's garage. From humble beginnings of a couple parts in a garage to a 2-building manufacturing facility making over 6,000 parts, Marquet has grown to be one of the country's premier truck parts manufacturers. They not only design the products, but also design the tooling to build the products, guaranteeing quality control. They have made their original parts from the original trucks. Aluminum strips are double polished, creating a mirror finish, and crystal clear anodized. They use the highest quality, hand-selected show quality wood that will hold up over time. Why? Because it's kiln dried to precision moisture levels specifically for Marquet. They stock oak, pine, and mini exotics, guaranteeing extremely fast delivery. All parts are manufactured in-house in Oklahoma City, USA. They offer quality parts built by Americans for old American-made trucks. So when you're looking for body moldings, bed strips, bed wood, and so much more, think Marquet. That's mar-k.com.
We've had people that our listeners actually hate, like will write us and say, we hate that guy. Don't ever have him on. And for me, that's gold, because it affected them so much that they took the time to tell you how much they were mad about it, which tells you how much the show means to them. And sometimes we want to push the boundaries of our guests with our listeners. We want them to be uncomfortable. We want them to hear about things they hadn't known about. And in fact, we've had audience members who have written us and said, I wasn't really into that guest, but I learned so much, or I had no idea. I'm glad I stuck with that interview. So we've had that so many times where people are like, I love the show because I never know what kind of information I'm going to learn. And you know what these guys like? It's Friday night in the shop, drinking a beer with their buddy. They want to know that next little bit of info that their buddy doesn't know. And we like to think that we help them be kind of the hero in their friend group.
And we go deep, and I know that you do as well, Ronnie. So you love humans, you love people. You're digging into us now, right? You're not about just the C10 that the guy's building. Of course, you talk about that. What airbags did you choose? Who made those upper control arms? Blah blah blah. But then, as soon as you get the build out of the way, you're like, "What makes you tick, dude? Why this build?
Like, why that car?
Yeah, like that thing's ugly. Well, who hurt you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh well, my mom bought it for me as my first car, and I just couldn't get rid of it. And you're like, oh, you know.
Yeah, right. So there's always a backstory, and there's the human element, because so when you get, and we love that. So we love entrepreneurs more than anything,
unless they are selling snake oil and we get caught up in it.
He's talking about Nikola, yes. So we were in the center of a crazy controversy, which I'm sure you know about.
Well, I mean, I listened to that pod, and then I was kind of watching that. I kind of think I got introduced to that through your episode. You talk about the human perspective and the backstory. Are you surprised, or at what point did you realize, and I don't know, I think both of you probably had this already with your previous careers, but that your audience cared so much. At what point you're like, holy shit, these guys are really listening and they're pissed about this guest, or they care, or if we don't put out a pod this week or whatever, and you start to really kind of calculate all that, and you're like, wow, we're making a dent. And whether it's 10 listeners, 1,000 listeners, 5,000 listeners, it doesn't matter. People are tuning in to hear what you guys have to say.
The first time, I think, for both of us was a Monday I missed. I typically upload the podcast after 9:00 p.m. on Sunday night, so it's waiting on Monday morning for people's commute. And a couple times, I think only 2, I've released on a Tuesday just because I was too busy or couldn't get to it.
We're traveling.
And we're traveling, and we've gotten hate mail going, "Where's my podcast? You ruined my week." And you go, "Dude, it's out today. Calm down." But the real moment for me, and maybe Lightning is different, we held a 500 5-star hotline. We told, or a 500 5-star party. Yes. And we told our listeners that if they gave us 500 reviews, 5-star reviews, that we were going to hold a party at Motor Trend. And we did. We had dudes fly in for that. We had dudes driving in for that. We had local people. And after the party was over, like, we basically had a DJ here. We had like a truck show in the parking lot. We had just, some food and waters and sodas for everybody, and just like kind of a meet and greet, and had fun, and just had a chance for our listeners to hang out together. When I realized like what people did, I drove down from Bakersfield. What's the furthest? There was one where they flew into San Francisco in the morning.
No. They flew in
Vegas.
It was no. It was further. It was like Utah or somewhere.
Yeah,
it was far.
Yeah,
meaning it wasn't.
Flew into LAX.
It was an investment in their time.
Yeah.
And then I said, "So where are you guys going after this?" He goes, "Oh, we're flying home." And I go, "No, that's funny.
Yeah.
Where are you going now?" And they go, "No, we're really going to get a flight and go home."
And then we did an after party basically with 20 of them hung with us still.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's go get beers.
So we chose a bad bar to go to, but it was a Raiders bar.
Yeah.
So we walk in.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. The fact is that a bunch of people hung with us for like another couple hours, just BSing about truck stuff. And it was just great because a lot of these listeners that we've gotten to know, I mean, I'm sure you have it too. We probably have 3 or 4 that constantly DM us on Instagram with stories and stuff they want to see or whatever, or just funny stuff. There's people that have become legitimate friends. And there's been people who have offered to help us out. Like, I've had 5 or 6 listeners say, if you need help with your F-100 and Jay's not going to do what he needs to, just let me know and I'll help you.
Oh, is that how you're going to segue into this topic?
We're not going to segue yet because I'm storing that both of your projects, your personal projects, for the end. But you brought up the snake oil. Do you find that happens too sometimes, where I'll get people to reach out and they really want to push something that they're trying to market and take advantage of, whether it's me or the audience, and I kind of feel like a little bit of the parent where it's like, nah, I'm not going to drop that on my audience. Sometimes you're like, all right, I like this. I want to listen. And that's a little bit of a challenging thing for me because I don't have the background that you guys have.
I'll answer this. So both Holman and I, being in my previous career and his going through so many magazines and being pitched so many products by so many marketing specialists in air quotes, and PR people, et cetera, we have great BS detectors. That's one thing that I will say that we have developed, because as a morning show producer, I was pitched every bad product CEO, every bad B, C, D, E, and F celebrity, guy that was on Dancing with the Stars and got kicked off on day one, like all those people, right? And we had to, you don't immediately jettison those. You have to look and say, is there an angle? Is it legit? Can we blast this person? Is it so bad we can actually blast them? Like, we could turn it around. Generally, we confer, like, hey, what do you think of this? I'm like, no, that's lame. No one's going to buy into this, and we don't feel comfortable doing it. But it doesn't get much farther than that. Like, we just instantly know it just comes with the wisdom, I guess, of
I think
it for so long.
We both have enough experience where you can kind of sniff out the shady PR people, or what the email looks like, or sometimes I'll even get stuff off LinkedIn or even a personal email that sneaks through or something, and I've got this great, and you're like, it's not a fit for us,
We both love, like we said a few minutes ago, we both love mechanical engineering, and so if it's a widget and we can hold it in our hands and take it apart and going, this is ingenious, then we want to talk to the guy.
Yeah.
We love it, because That's not snake oil. We can look at it. We can test it. We can put it on our.
There's just people who have crazy claims. I think the thing about having a duo is that my out is always, oh, let me check with my co-host and we'll get back to you. And I can always be like, make him the bad guy and be like, we just don't think it's a fit. Like, we only have people on that we both agree on or something like that. I've done that a few times where something just wasn't right or you kind of find out the backstory and the dude who's like has been to jail 5 times for, lewd acts or something. Like, I don't really want to give that guy a platform. And he happens to be your co-host. It's weird. I thought that was.
I don't want to give a platform. Maybe
us.
that's why I don't have a co-host. I don't know. One thing that I have that is, I guess, controllable for me is it's just me. I do at times. I'm envious. I think I would do well with a co-host, but the scheduling could be an issue. Where I feel like the scheduling would be one of those things where sometimes that would be such a tough deal for me. Unless you had somebody. So do you ever have schedules where you're just like, dude, it's so hard for us to get together this week, or, hey, we need to lock down 2 to 3 pods because there's no way I'm going to be able to do, whatever I do this next week because I'm out of town for my real job or family and so on and so forth. Balancing.
So no, I mean, we do have that issue, but not often because we make it a point that we record as much as we can on Tuesday nights and we bang out at least one show, but we don't like to do multiple shows.
Although we have like a Saturday or Sunday where we have.
We don't like to do it. We will because if Holman's going and he's test driving new vehicles, he's going to Europe for whatever, he's going to drive in the Sahara. We don't have a choice. He's going to be gone for 2 weeks, whatever it is. So we do that. And I was going to say something about on that topic. Oh, I don't know. Damn, lost my train of thought. This is what editing is for.
5-star hotline. Here we go. Drink some Dr. Pepper. Let's bring it up.
Drop it out of the energy. So, we try and have a real regular cadence. And so each of us has a shared calendar for the podcast. It's always blocked off. If I have to move it, sometimes we'll move it to a different day in the week. And if I move it off my calendar, it shows moved on his. And so we'll adapt for things like that. But we typically try to do that one show a week.
And I recall what I was going to say. So, Ronnie, I'm sure you're asked from time to time, or you have a conversation at a restaurant, at a bar with somebody, non-COVID times, and they say, hey, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. What do I need to know? And you go, you need to know that you have to do it every week. Yeah, and they go, well, no, I got that. And they blow you off as if that's easy. Yeah. And you say, no, listen to me. You have to do it every single week.
I think a lot of people think you record it into your iPhone and you press a button and send it to the cloud and that's a podcast. People have no idea how much work goes into it, number one. And number two, that if you aren't consistent, you will immediately lose your audience and you will never grow or establish anything if you aren't consistent.
You have to be consistent. There's pre-production, there's lining up the guests, getting your sound effects, whatever. And I'm bummed right now, the way that we're set up from doing this call, I can't play sound effects as much as I normally do because I'd be clowning both of you with my sound effects. It's not working with our current setup. But it's consistency. And I had a buddy that I loved to death. And we're going to have him on this show as a guest because he makes some really cool stuff.
But you loved him to death. He's dead.
But hold on. No. He's still alive.
Okay.
I love him to death. He's still alive.
Okay. I just was checking because I thought that might be weird.
Although he did have corona, which we're going to ask him.
Too soon. Okay. Too soon. We can't talk about corona right now.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Yeah. So, no, it's not too soon.
Or Screech.
No.
Have
you Saved by the Bell Screech?
Yeah.
Screech.
The meme where it said, did it come to a screeching halt? Yeah, that was a bad one. I'm like, that's too soon.
Yeah. I have a Screech story. That's for another day.
Have either of you had the corona?
Screech is the worst guest. Hold on. Screech is the worst guest that we ever had on the morning show ever. Like the worst guest we ever had on the Kevin and Bean show on KROQ.
And now you don't have to worry about it
and
ever
we had
again.
Thousands and thousands.
Diamond? Dustin Diamond? Is that right?
Dustin Diamond.
Dustin Diamond was the one of, so there was only 2 guests.
Turned to dust.
Only 2 guests in the history of the morning show that we actually removed from the building. One was the second in command at the Church of Scientology, and the other one was Dustin Diamond.
And I mean, I think as the booking guy, maybe hindsight's 20/20, but I mean, we all know that he was he was an idiot, right? I mean, right? At what point did you have him on? Like in the heyday of Saved by the Bell?
It was
when he did his pornos.
It was it was post Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the porn,
and it was after the porn. And he had some other project, and we had him in, and we're like, we're going to have Screech. And he was so awful and so he would sit there, and while Kevin is talking, saying, hey, it's 106.7 KROQ. We've got Screech. As Kevin's saying, doing the introduction, Screech is going.
I mean, I do that on our podcast.
But then
probably on something.
Kevin pauses and waits for him to say something, and still it's making fart noises. We're like, what is happening here? And he wouldn't talk. He would just make noises.
Sounded like you needed the Scientology guy and Screech on at the same time. That might have been.
Yeah, there you go.
Is it Joaquin Phoenix that was on like Letterman or one of the Tonight shows? And you're just like, holy shit, this dude's.
When he went through his crazy phase with the big beard and stuff.
Yeah. So I think maybe. So I don't follow it enough. Did Screech get the Rona and die or what?
He actually had cancer. He only found out like 3 weeks ago or something like that. So it was a fast one.
So that's too soon. It came to a screeching halt.
I think it's soon. Yeah.
No, not with him. It's not too soon.
Yeah.
Freaking Screech.
I guess there won't be any reunions anytime soon. Him and Lisa Turtle hanging out.
No, they already had a reunion. He wasn't invited. So that tells you all you need to know there.
Yeah. You can tell I did watch the shit out of that show.
Oh, come on. We all did.
I'm not going to lie.
You're between 40 and 50. You watched the show.
Yeah, I watched.
Come on.
Believe me. I literally was
guilty pleasure.
I'm Zach Morris.
Like scooters, dude. Come on.
I mean, listen, if I say,
just like
hold on.
He does little timeouts right now.
No. Ronnie timeout. Ronnie, go Ronnie. I paused him.
You need a timeout. I just timed out you, Lightning. See, look at him. He's I don't have anything. I'm just saying timeout. There you go. All right. Untime out. Go ahead, prep.
Okay, all right.
Whatever the hell.
So, dude, when you talk to people about a Motorola brick phone, what is it called with guys our age? What is it called? It's called a freaking Zach Morris phone.
Yeah,
isn't
it is Zach. I was just going to say a Saved by the Bell phone because he had it. It was tan, and they called him Preppy, right? AC Slater. That's what it was.
Yep, and he broke the fourth wall.
Yeah, he did. But we all call it a Zach Morris phone today. That's how.
You guys need to do maybe a little Saved by the Bell reunion show or something like that. Have you? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if I knew anybody like that who was like some D-list celebrity that loved trucks, I'd be like, "Come on the show, let's do it."
What do you mean? Everybody loves
D
trucks.
or E?
They love trucks.
Talk about Holman. Talk about tracking down Lee Major's truck.
Oh yeah,
Fall Guy.
Yeah, so we had the guy who owns the Fall Guy truck. So it was one of our goals that we wrote down when we first started the show was to do an episode on the Fall Guy truck and figure out where that truck is. And we found the history of it and made a show out of it. So, there's all these little things growing up. We're like, now I have this weird platform where people will listen to me and we get to go do cool stuff like, find the Fall Guy truck.
And the cool thing
we
about
also
that
did
is
the
for
history
the most part, we're all
truck
about
nuts.
the same age, and your audience, I got to think your audience is as well. Maybe your demographics even in, maybe 30s, but I think,
it fades a little lower, a little younger.
Yeah, but I think that like obviously my demographic is like me, but I think that like that kind of stuff where you think about the Dukes, you think about the Fall Guy, and Saved by the Bell, 90210, we could go on and on, what we did as kids, and it all kind of comes back. But you have a platform, you are utilizing that and having a good time with it. Is there a guest that you guys still have not? So 3 years, you're coming up on 3 years, like 160 episodes. Who's your big guest? Who is we got to get this guy? 2021 COVID, we got to get this guy.
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. We've had Mike Finnegan, we've had David Freiberger on from Roadkill and the Motor Trend shows. We've had Dave Chappelle, Dirthead Dave on. We've had Fred Williams on. So we've had a bunch of our people on.
We've had Dave Sparks. Diesel
Brothers been on. Gail Banks is one of our most popular episodes. We've gotten, we've had a pretty good. Aaron Kaufman's been on a bunch of times.
This may sound like cocky, but there hasn't been anyone that we've wanted and haven't gotten yet.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think it's weird because our show isn't always dependent on a guest, or sometimes it's not dependent on a famous person to carry us. One of my great pleasures that I've said in the past about doing this show is when you're a magazine guy, there's a lot of stories that happen that you don't have the platform to ever tell. The time that if you own a Ford Raptor, I'm the guy that saved the Ford Raptor. And you can listen to that in one of our episodes and I go through it. I was doing a photo shoot, also got run over by a Ford Raptor by one of their chief engineers who was driving for a cover shot. Like, you can never tell that story in print. The Ram SRT 10, you guys remember the old Viper truck. The chief engineer on that is retired now. It's a friend of mine. And we went back and talked about the development of making the Viper truck back in the day. And the Dodge SRT forums picked that up. And that's one of our most popular episodes because all the SRT10 guys were like, dude, nobody ever talks about us. These guys did a podcast. And we got all sorts of like love letters from the SRT10 community saying that was really awesome. So much insight. Like, thanks for doing that for us. So like part of it for me is just not necessarily finding like the big hook, but finding the cool story nobody else is going to tell.
And we also, we all have AMP research steps on our modern trucks, right? The retractable steps. So, but rather than talking to the CEO, or now it's Truck Hero, but then of AMP, like we talked to the mechanical engineer, the guy who actually drew up the retractable mechanism in SolidWorks, and then sends it to the CNC machine and makes it. And he's like, this is how we did it. This is how many iterations. And so we geek out. And I think that stuff is really interesting because at what point in your life would you ever run into the guy who designed the steps that are on your truck? You'd be like, wow, I have all these questions.
Well, and we just had the chief engineer at Bilstein who designed the shocks on the TRX Ram that are fully active, a first in the truck world ever, and walked us step by step through how that program came to be. Talked about the Bronco shocks, that technology, but just how much better it is than the Fox stuff and Raptor, and was willing to talk shit, which was sort of kind of interesting. We looked at each other like, whoa.
He was so opinionated.
It was awesome.
For an engineer, usually engineers just toe the company line and they say what they're supposed to say. And they've had like a public speaking, what do you call it? PR preparation. What's the
media training?
Media training. Thank you. Which I haven't had. Media training. And like he was just throwing that out with the bathwater thing. No, I'm gonna say what it is. Like he was talking about other shock technologies and how they're not what you should put on this particular application. It was really great the way he broke it down.
Do you find now that you guys are to that level of media that like new truck, when they want to get something out, they're calling you guys when they're reaching out, where it would be like, hey, Truck Trend, Motor Trend, and now that even by your employer Holman, by Truck Trend, is saying, oh, we've got the perfect outlet for that. Now we can put you on the Truck Show podcast.
Yeah. We've had a lot of PR people, even for products, start reaching out to us, pitching us things, which makes booking the show a lot easier. But we also, depending on the manufacturer, there's some that don't care. But what's funny is we have quite a lot of people in Detroit who listen to the show, who are in the industry. And word is starting to get around that, these guys are doing this. And, we will have a PR person say, hey, here's the coverage, blah, blah, blah. Hey, is there a chance I can get my engineer on the podcast too? And so that's been kind of interesting that, we get enough recognition from PR at the OEs where they're wanting to have people on the show, which I think is awesome.
We have debuted new product announcement for the OEs at least half a dozen times.
And it's a good time.
That's a big deal.
There's so much radness going on in the OE truck world right now. Obviously Mopar stuff, Dodge stuff, Ford stuff. I mean, it's a good time. I mean, you guys have more information probably coming out than where my stuff's more old school. And somebody has a big back window conversion thing. That's the cutting edge, where you guys have to filter through so much stuff. That's where I kind of think it is probably at times a little challenging to figure out who's going to be on, who's going to be next. When you talked about the SRT and it was, it went onto a Facebook group or a forum or something like that, how do you balance out the social and getting the show out to Facebook groups, your social media platforms? Because that is a lot of work.
Yeah, we don't.
We're not good at that.
I mean,
we're not good.
It's hard. I've got a kid that covers social for my house brands here. And so he'll do light social for me on the podcast and make sure that, so every podcast episode we do gets a recap story with all of our sponsors linked on both fourwheeler.com and trucktrend.com. It goes in those newsletters, and then it gets socialized out with a link back to the podcast episode with everybody tagged. And so, we kind of rely on people seeing it in social and sharing, or going on our own social pages at Truck Show Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, so that they can kind of get the latest news. But it's hard. If there's something that we know is really hard hitting or really special to a community, we'll try and hop into a group and share it. But we're not very good at it just because it's just the two of us most of the time.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were able to use a little bit more of the resources that you have and the availability of that, or if it gets lumped in, that would obviously help that. But that is the challenge, where social is something, like you said, it's free. It might be watered down, where video and some of those other engagements where pod's in the middle, but sometimes pushing out pod and you're like, man, I just wish everybody knew about this pod. So you're obviously seeing the growth, and that's what it's all about.
We see the growth, there's without question, but we're so buried in our day jobs, and now we love doing this podcast, but when it comes to social, it's just, for whatever reason,
it's hard.
It's that one grain of sand that just buries us.
What's funny,
when we do it, just not enough.
Early on, we had somebody who said that this show isn't going to be worth a damn because we didn't have 5,000 followers, and it's like we have 10,000 on Facebook or something and 5,000 on Instagram or almost. I mean, we don't push it that much, but
Ronnie slays us when it comes to social.
No, for sure.
So I do social for a living. Like, that's what I do.
If I didn't do social, I don't know. I've thought about that where I'm like, dude, if I didn't post something, will it get listens? I've kind of done that at times, like a little test. Like, I'm not going to post that much on this pod, and I'm going to see.
And it hurts.
It does. And it does.
You can see the numbers drop.
Yeah.
Like, we took 1 week off. So like our January was dog shit. And that's because we took a week off. But it's like, dude, we got to take a week off, and it's slowly ramping back up to normal numbers. But the lingering effect is a few weeks. It's like people get mad at you, so they punish you by not listening. But last year was COVID, and as you know, a lot of people listen to podcasts, they commute. And so, it's like COVID hits, people aren't going to work. All of a sudden in April, we see a big hit to the show, and we're thinking, this is going to be a bad year. And then all of a sudden, growth throughout the rest of the year. We ended up growing 15% last year in a COVID year for a podcast. Like, we're pretty stoked on that.
And so did our bellies.
Speak for yourself.
What about other pod? Do you guys have a pod that you like, that you listen to, that you can't live without, just like your audience wants to?
Yeah.
You guys, do you have a pod where you're checking in once a week, once a month?
Yep. I like to,
Holman does.
I like to listen to Mike Rowe. I think Mike Rowe is awesome. He does like the short stories and stuff, the way I heard it. I also like a series from Wondery called Business Wars. Love Business Wars. And Business Wars is fascinating because you may have Coke versus Pepsi and you're like, yeah, or like Southwest versus American. And I was never a wrestling fan. It's like WWF versus WWE. And I'm like, I don't care. And it just auto played into that season. And then it ended up being really fascinating about how the backside of water for wrestling works, right? So I love Wondery, and there's a few little shows here and there. I don't listen to too many in the automotive space. I'll listen to you guys. But for me, I don't want to know what other people are doing in our space because I think it in some way kind of poisons us from just being ourselves. And I don't want to feel like we're pressured to compete and do what the other guy's doing. I just want to be us. And so I, on purpose, I'll pick and choose maybe some shows from a topic standpoint, and then I bail out just because I don't want to be influenced with our show.
I listen to Matt Farah's Smoking Tire when I can. I enjoy Matt a lot. I think he's really good at what he does, and his kind of like Johnny Lieberman. Both those guys are fascinating. Johnny does not have a podcast. Matt does, but their depth of knowledge is mind-boggling. They can remember what displacement engine went in a 74 Datsun, whatever. The recollection is amazing, and their reviews of new vehicles is phenomenal. I wish I had more time to listen. I still have a big passion for music, so I'm still trolling through Spotify on my way home, whether it's NPR for news or Spotify on their New Music Fridays. I'm still a music geek, so some of my time is still spent searching for that next cool band.
Oh, that's cool. I think that, like you said, that if you're narrowed in to just listen to pod, you kind of have the variety. I do the same thing. Sometimes I'm like, I'm on a pod high, I'm going to go to a music high. I'm going to switch it up, and I go back and forth.
Yeah.
For both of our
listen to spoken
audience,
word,
Exactly. For both of our audience, if you do tune into Wondery, Business Wars, a new one that's really good is Business Movers. They have a whole thing on Wondery. Do not compare. I don't think you will, but their level of production is it's a little higher than you're going to get from C10 Talk.
Well, if you've been listening to our show, you'll notice that we added some of those production elements to kind of up our quality. We've got the little, I guess it would be called a boilerplate at the end where we kind of go through the outro. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: when you listen to the Truck Show podcast, it's a flavor. It's like it's a morning show. It's a little goofy. That we have jingles. So all of the segments, when we bring you on, Ronnie, you have an intro. Every guest has an intro, and the guest is not the same intro. It's an intro for that guest,
for that segment.
Whether it's an entrepreneur, it's
an event,
right?
Inside job.
It's all these. They're very specific, and yes, and they're silly. But like, I guarantee the dude is 45 years old and he still farts. Like, I guarantee, like the stuff. It's not silly, like fart silly. But I'm saying is,
I mean, sometimes it is. I'll tell you. Listen, I'll tell you my two favorite compliments that a listener has ever given us. Number one was, I love you guys because I just feel like I'm in the garage drinking beers with my buddies. The way you guys bust on each other, but you guys are smart and, well, I don't know, smart. You guys are knowledgeable and kind of tell me what's going on. The other one that was really moving for me is there's a guy who listens to the show, and he said, hey, I just wanted to write to you guys and let you know that I've been listening to the show. And my dad and I hadn't talked in like 5 years. And we had I might have been a C10. We had a project that we wanted to finish, but we didn't really get along, and it's been sitting there. And I told my dad, like, let's start working on this project together and listen to the show. So he and his dad rekindled their relationship while working on their project vehicle while listening to the Truck Show podcast. And the guy had told us that his dad passed away from cancer, and if it weren't for the show, he and his dad never would have connected, and he never would have gotten to know his dad basically in this stage of his life. And for me, that was like, I still get chills talking about it because that is such a human moment and so like real that we just think we're two knuckleheads that like trucks that come into a studio once a week and just talk and tell you about stuff. Like, we don't feel like we're impacting lives. We're just giving people a respite from what's going on. But there's real people. We've got friends in the military who listen. One is he drives a submarine.
Yeah, Lieutenant Hux.
Yeah, and they invited me out. The Navy, we sent them a big care package full of swag and stuff. And the Navy wrote back and said, listen, you guys don't understand like what it means when you're on a nuke boat. We're not like a regular Navy ship that has ports of call. We're underwater for, weeks and sometimes months at a time. And what you have with you is all you have. So a lot of these guys download all the podcasts, and that's what they have for their tour. And we sent them a bunch of swag, and they told us when they retire that boat, they will wonder how stickers got where they got on that thing. And we got invited out. I actually went to Kings Bay, Georgia, and the USS Tennessee, Ohio class was in dry dock. And I got a full tour of the submarine, got to walk on it. I actually got to walk under a U.S. nuclear submarine and touch the bottom as I walked under it because of this show. Like, that's the types of relationships we're building, and obviously huge with military and fire departments and law enforcement, and love all of our friends out there on the front lines who listen. It is meaningful to us.
One of our listeners, a friend of ours, Clint, he said, hey, we go out to, we're involved in King of the Hammers. We'd love you to come out and spend some time with us. And I couldn't make it out for King of the Hammers, but I met him and his family, his son, and this big crew of dudes. They all from Toyotas to Jeeps, the whole thing. And I said, yeah, I'll meet you out there this weekend. And my wife's like, you're going to go hang out with some people you've never met, like they just listened to you? And I go, yeah, I did. And I had the greatest time. And I brought my son, who was like, whatever he was, 13 at the time. And we had an amazing time with listeners that I met for the first time there in the middle of the desert. They could have killed me and left me for dead. I mean, I had paid. That's why I paid them. So they failed.
Yeah, I have to now have revenge.
Yeah.
Refund. So it's great.
You brought up the stickers in the submarine. One thing I have written down is like your shirts are like a metal jacket. They're like something that we
they're
wear
so crunchy.
Pro deck. We just got our deck commercial in there for you. Protective armor.
Why is something that's black 4 different colors? Look at the inkiness of this one, and then this one looks like it's gray. Like,
I'm just wondering, like, those are like 8 ounces a piece, maybe 10. Something I wore when I was watching Saved by the Bell back in like 90. I just want to know who's doing your shirts. I'm thinking.
So the shirts, okay. You want the actual story? You want me to lie about it? Tell me which one you want. You want
just tell me the actual story.
Of course, I know who's doing the shirts. I mean, I'm setting you
I
up
like
here.
A stretchy shirt. You hate them.
So here's the thing: we're fat and we have man boobs. And what happens when you wear a really thin shirt that you would wear, Ronnie, because you're a yoked fireman, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but they are comfortable.
You can't. You got to wear a thick 5.5 or 6 ounce t-shirt, and then it will hang off you, and you won't see your roll by your belt and all that stuff. So I did own a clothing store. My buddy runs it now, but for a decade I owned a clothing store, and we printed everything on all style 1301s. It's a 6 ounce shirt, and it's thick, and it's hip hop.
Did you hear the emphasis on thick there?
Thick.
Thick.
You hear that?
Thick.
And it's a little urban, as we would call it, and that's a thick shirt like rappers would wear. They don't like thin shirts. That's not cool. The thicker the better. They want a Pro Club 7-ounce, way thick. So anyway, the shirts were printed in that style.
The apparel show.
Dude, the dude asked, what do you want me to tell you?
But they want it down to like past their butt cheeks too. So I don't think your Truck Show podcast shirts are extra long either, right? So they
no. Oh no, wait. Pause.
Really long.
So here's another timeout. So what happened?
This is how you know the quality and what Lightning really thinks of our show.
No. So we were going to an event.
Yeah, pieces of crap, dude. These aren't even good chamois.
That was my locker in like 9th grade. In my football locker, you could pull the T-shirt out and have like a sword fight with those things. Dude, we're busting balls.
So, the thing with the Gildans is that we
bringing new definition to sword fight, are you?
We were doing an event, Ronnie.
We lost.
Listen, Ronnie doesn't get. Let's talk about our truck. Defensive over our shirt. Hey, I had to turn around shirts.
We're going.
All right, stop.
We got another guest that we got to do.
I wanted to give you a little hard time about the shirts, just a little, because I used my.
Deservedly so.
I had to exfoliate one day, and I'm like, dude, babe, give me my Truck Show podcast shirt so I can exfoliate and work on this. You all get all fired up.
If we were to print new shirts today, they would be on America. They would be on.
All right, we're off of shirt
or something.
We have our own podcast we have to record tonight.
Oh, you're doing that later. Damn. Oh shit. I thought you might have already done that. Okay, so let's start with we're gonna start with the 67 F100. I know we're a C10 podcast, and then we're gonna get into Lockjaw, which is Lightning C20, and some YouTube, some banks. So what's gonna happen right now with the Ford truck with your 67 short bed, bump side? I'm kind of in the works before the C20 got there. So what's the plan with your truck?
I don't know. Lightning's what's the plan? He claims that they're working on it again. All right, long story short,
but it's almost done, right? It's close.
It's close. The engine and trans are sitting in it. It's got the exhaust done. Lightning finally recommitted to doing stuff. They're working on the intercooler. The intake boxes are done. Need to do the front accessory drive, and then need to wire up the electronics on it. But the fuel tank is in. The chassis harness is in. Wheels and tires are on it. Alden's going to do the suspension as soon as it's drivable. Needs a drive shaft. Rear end's on it. Brakes are on it. So it's actually pretty close. If I don't put in a heater core, HVAC, and a radio, it conceivably could be driving fairly soon, like this year. It's got a 3.5 EcoBoost crate engine from Ford Performance with Raptor turbos. Should be it's different. The idea being like better weight distribution. It's behind the front axle. It's a little powerhouse. Should be rad in that thing. 6-speed Ford automatic. Behind it, I'm a manual guy, but that's just sort of how the project came together. But 500 horse from a turbocharged V6 and a bump side should be stupid. And so that's the plan for it. And we're close-ish. Sure.
So are you just a Ford guy? Or are you just a bump side guy? How did you get this and acquire this truck? And how's that story?
It's funny because I would say that I'm a Ford guy, but then when I came to the automotive industry, I realized that all car companies have warts, and being brand loyal is sort of stupid. And so I would say, I mean, people say, well, I'm a Jeep guy or whatever now, but as far as trucks, I've always been a Ford guy. I just really like the bump sides. To me, there's just something stylish about those things. In my world, Chevys usually look good lowered, and Fords usually look good lifted. And this is one of the only Fords for me that I thought was badass slammed, because the dent side has to be lifted. Dent sides just don't look right. The proportions aren't right to be slammed. And the older Fords, maybe a 56 big window, 55 F100, somewhere in there, those are cool slammed. But I don't consider those in this thought process because they were never offered with four-wheel drive. So for me, in the eras of Fords that were offered both in two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, I always feel like the Fords are better lifted in the bumps for me because they're so short and so wide, and you can fit such a massive tire. I think I've got a 315 with no fender mods under the back with a Dana 60. They're just cool. They're just, to me, that's like, in the world of C10 did it first. The C10's short beds dried up first, got expensive first. When the Mustangs and Camaros went away, everybody turned to the trucks. That's where you got that V8 rear-wheel drive, American feel. And the C10s dried up. And then everybody started taking the long bed C10s and making them short beds. And then the Ford stuff came on. And now, at the time, slam Fords weren't really that big of a deal, right? And I was, I did a Crown Vic swap on the front and all that kind of stuff. To me, now the Fords are drying up. Look at the prices of the Fords now. And now the Dodges are starting to get picked up, but Dodge didn't have the same supply of that C10s and F100s had. So they're getting expensive a lot faster. So people are missing their windows now. And I just saw an opportunity to buy one, and I paid too much for it, and it needed a new cab. And once I blasted it, it was just a Bondo Swiss cheese mess. But the pride that I have and why I'm committed to finishing it is because it would have gone to the junkyard. It was unsafe and almost undrivable when I got it, and it's going to be returned to hopefully be around for a long time for people to enjoy, maybe well after I'm gone. And so to me, it's anytime you can take an old piece of iron like that that's destined for the junkyard and figure out how to get it right for the road again, that's a story in itself. And you're doing the automotive community, a solid by putting your effort into that rather than finding the pristine one that you're just going to park in the garage. So for me, that was the deal.
Well, I mean, what a segue to go into unsafe, undrivable. We should be jumping right into Lockjaw, but we're not going to go there yet, just because I have a few more with your truck. Is it one of those builds where it's taken kind of a while that things have changed? Because it does seem like it's taken a few years. You guys are 3 years on the pod.
5 years in the build.
So I think, is that something where have you been challenged that way to think, man, I want to change some things up? And the other thing really is, I know you give Lightning a hard time about it, but you're in the truck industry. You could pull that from wherever. You could make it happen, correct? Or is it just you can't all that?
It's so hard now because the media landscape has changed with influencers and all that kind of stuff, and the way marketing departments work, and it's a lot harder than it used to be. My job changed right after we got that thing rolling to where I wasn't overseeing that part of the business. And then obviously over the years, I've gotten busier as my responsibilities have increased, and then COVID hit, and it's just a crazy, perfect storm that's kept me. And it's, part of it was the person I, worked with at Banks who helped me get the project going, who committed to it, changed. Lightning came in. He didn't have the staff that he needed, so we put it on hold. And really the only beef I have with him is I totally understand that, but he shouldn't get his truck started or done before mine. That's all I'm saying.
All right. There's a segue for the Lockjaw, the C20 Lockjaw. It was bought by, you guys bought it for $1. Lightning bought it for $1.
Holman did.
I did.
I gifted it now on the video series. On the video series, I say me because people don't know Sean. But for anyone listening to this podcast, the truth is that Sean slapped $1 down out of his wallet on this console right here, and bought it from a guy named Sean, one of our listeners.
He was going to give it to you, right? So you guys are like, no, let's exchange cash. So Holman, that's probably all Holman had anyways, $1.
Usually, yeah.
It was to get a Dr. Pepper out of the vending machine down the way.
Yep.
That's what it was for.
Yeah, I traded a Dr. Pepper for your truck, essentially.
Pretty much.
You're welcome.
Good friends. I tell you what, right there. So let's talk about it. You've got a video series that's obviously you've talked about the truck Lockjaw on the pod, and now you're kind of rolling with your video series. I think there's 4 out. What's your kind of break that down for us? Project. Was it Rusty?
So Lockjaw,
was it Rusty's Rusty?
Yeah, it was Rusty Max. So because I wanted to take it all. Well, yes, yeah. So for those who weren't listening, of course, many of your listeners weren't listening to our show at the time. You were a guest, and we were discussing the project, and it hadn't started yet. And I told you that I was really wanting to put a Duramax engine in this truck. D-Max, Rusty and D-Max together was Rusty Max, right? RUSDMAX. Holman and you crapped on the idea, rightfully so.
Yes.
But I didn't have anything better at the time, and I thought, it's cute name, it works, right? And you and Holman were like, no, it's Rusty. It's a rust bucket. It's going to give you tetanus. Wait, tetanus. If you're 90, you remember that tetanus can give you lockjaw, right? And it's funny because my kids don't understand lockjaw. What is that? I'm like, well, if you get tetanus from like a dog bites you, your jaws lock up, like you can't talk. Oh, okay. And then also, because I've shared the photos with you and the renderings, and we've also in episode 4 that went live just a few days ago, the bed and the hood articulate, kind of like a Pagani. If you've ever seen the supercar of Pagani, how they articulate opposite each other, everything opens out. It looks like a clamshell opening. So there's a double entendre there. So it's Lockjaw because it's Rusty, and Lockjaw because they open up like jaws.
You just used two words I've never even heard. I don't even know how to say them again. You just blew my audience out of the water. But yeah, so a lockjaw, they do rotate. And once I saw that and you shared that along with the brown color and the amount of rust, like literally fuel just spills out of it. It's almost like a cartoon.
Don't forget the wires that hang out of the dash and actually rub the top of your knees as you drive it. That's actually a thing.
Little 12-volt love there for you. Keep you awake at night so you don't fall asleep when you're driving down the road. Big back window, which is super cool. C20, obviously long bed, 8 lug. What's the plan?
And a vintage 1989 GM Goodrich crate engine. I mean, come on.
99.
Oh, 99.
Dropped
Sorry.
it in 1999. The guy paid
$1,700
for the engine.
What about that?
That's exactly right.
What about that head unit? It's like an Audio Vox or something. Kraco. What?
Yeah, something good.
It's crap. It doesn't work. I can tell you that. Nothing works in that thing. The only gauge that works is the oil pressure. Nothing else works. Speedo.
By the way, if none of your gauges work and only the oil pressure, I wouldn't trust it.
I don't. But I have driven it to Motor Trend. That's 30 miles both ways.
With a seized brake drum.
With a seized brake drum that Holman was here to see that it was red hot and on fire. Right?
I'm like, why?
It was smoldering.
I'm like, why is your truck smoking?
But I cooled off and I drove it home. So you'd be fine. Something that the people who, if you've watched the series, you don't know this yet, but I'll be taking it on another journey about 50, 60 miles away. So it does run and drive with its 350 in it.
Makes one of ours.
Well, yeah. So here, can I tell you the backstory, Ronnie? Because this is going to go on forever. This is where
you realize we have our own podcast that we have to do at some point.
And we have to text.
I just did, but keep it short.
Okay.
Who's on tonight? Is it a little teaser?
We got Mike A coming on, and we've got Matt Felderman at AEV to talk about some of their new technology and parts for full-size trucks.
Nice. Mike's got some big news, obviously, to share. Yep. I need to get that out to my audience as well. I've been, talking to him as well today. So that's good stuff. I think that's going to be good for both, just for the market itself to merge those two. But we'll discuss that a little bit later. So, Lockjaw, what's happening?
Yeah. So here's the thing: is that with Holman's truck, when he started the discussions with Banks before I got there, there was a lot of talk of doing turbo systems for Ford F-150s, etc. So that it was a natural thing that was happening at the time that Holman was discussing that project. That project got put on hold before I got there. And when I got to Banks, I was like, Gale, you're the king of diesel. You can't go in 10 different directions. He had taken...
Which I disagree because I think Gale is the king of turbos, regardless, because he's been both fuels over his career, and I think he's been pigeonholed into diesel over the years.
Well, listen, you have to be really good at one thing before you're credible at all things. You just can't.
Did you guys know each other before you got the job at Banks? You already knew each other, and then you got the job at Banks? Yeah.
For 15 years.
Longer than that. Yeah. Probably almost 20 years.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, I was a listener of K-Rock and met him at a Real Big Fish in-store at the WOW store in Long Beach, California. And then when I got the magazine job, my editor said, hey, this guy, Lightning from K-Rock, you need to go do an install on his truck. And we installed a exhaust system in headers from Bassani.
Yes.
On his truck. And then so we've known each other. That was back in, it had to be 2002 or 3.
It was 2. It was late 02 because I had to make SEMA. Oh, no, it would have been early 03 because I was at SEMA in 03.
Yeah, so there you go. So that's how we knew each other. And then we just through mutual friends and running into each other at car shows and SEMAs and, things like that.
So what happened is Gale took like 10 years off to go start a military division and go after a massive contract. For those
which he got,
which he won. And so some hot rodder from the 1950s named Gale Banks from the San Fernando Valley in California won the biggest military contract of the decade, which is supplying engines for the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle. I'm sure you have a lot of military that are listening. The JLTV, those all have Banks engines in them. Anyway, so during that time, he kind of robbed Peter to pay Paul. He took all the engineers and developed this program and won it. Well, in that time, a lot of other brands came up into the diesel market. And kind of they sprouted up. When I came into the mix, I'm like, we need to regain that crown, right? Reseat you in that throne as being the king of diesel, and that's what we did. And Holman's truck would have required us to go back to that paused Ford F-150 thing. So we did that. We spent 2.5, almost 3 years now going after diesel, super hardcore, snuffing out any guy that made a snake oil product, and there are a lot of them in the diesel market. We do all the comparative analysis where we take one product and compare it to another one, and we show you the results, and you'd be an idiot to buy the other guys because we show you with the data. Anyway, we are now able to go revisit Holman's truck, and I've got a mechanical engineer that is done with the core support for the radiator and the intercooler. He is currently designing and welding up the intercooler, the boost tubes, etc. So that whole system under the hood is in progress right now. I wish I could have started a long time ago. I would have taken a lot less razzing from him on the podcast, but it is finally happening. And my goal is to get it to SEMA at or before, this year, right, in 2021.
Oh, I'm so happy. I thought you were saying this decade. So that makes me super happy.
I legitimately, I'm not just saying this for your podcast listeners or ours. I legitimately want to get it to SEMA. That's my
going full
plan.
Circle back to your 08 3500 dually with the bolt on it. Do you think Lockjaw could put the 67 on the back and you both could roll into SEMA? Is that what you're thinking?
No,
Lockjaw's
I'm not doing anything. No, Ronnie, stop. I'm not doing anything that I have to rely on Lockjaw for transportation.
No. So
is Lockjaw's going to be for SEMA this year too? Is that your plan?
Yes, that's the plan. Here's why, Ronnie. You don't know that Lockjaw is supposed to be the vessel that exposes the world to Banks' new crate engine program. We are going to launch a crate engine program where you can buy a full-featured, similar to the Cummins 2.8, where you can just basically start it in the crate, just hook it up to fuel, and it'll come with a throttle, and you can just launch it right there. It'll be a Banks 866T engine, so it's our version of the Duramax. It's based on a Duramax. It's got our cam. It's got a bunch of other stuff on it. I guess I'm actually breaking news here, but it's going to have a lot of proprietary parts in this Duramax. It'll be made for any guy that's got a Chevy truck, or hell, put it in, or we'll have marine versions. We will have turbo. We will have supercharged versions, but it's to get attention and be fun for this and lead into this, the debut of this crate engine program that will be the only one of its kind, because currently right now, Ronnie, you cannot buy a Duramax engine from General Motors or Duramax. You have to go through Banks, and we don't offer them to the public. So consequently, you either buy one out of a wrecked Duramax or you don't get one.
What size, when you say that, what size motor are we talking about?
6.6 liter Duramax.
Oh, damn. Okay. So yeah,
we'll offer them in increments. It will start at 600 horsepower, 8, and then go to like 11 or 12.
Crate
depending
motor.
On the forced crate motor, correct.
And you get to pick your turbo and everything.
No, it'll be pre-configured. You'll say, I want A, B, or C off a menu, and you'll buy that engine. You'll get the ECM. You'll get everything with it.
You'll get bacon. They'll just put bacon with it for free.
You'll get it all,
because everything's better with bacon.
Bacon.
So that's why we're doing something crazy. I mean, no one supercharges a diesel engine, right? These days. I mean, there are a few out there, but it's not common. So this series is we are developing this engine. It's going to have a Whipple 3.8 liter supercharger on top of a Banks Duramax engine in this 1966 Chevy C20. We're having a lot of fun doing it. It requires a custom chassis and all the other stuff that goes along with it.
And Roaster Shop's behind you on that. And Roaster Shop still behind you on that?
100%.
Okay, so this truck is going to kind of debut to launch the crate Duramax, Banks Duramax motor program. That's kind of what Lockjaw's meant to do?
That's correct. And it's supposed to, shine a light on, the Roadster Shop Spec Series chassis and Willwood, TX6R brakes. It's got all these wonderful parts on it that, we're using the power of Banks social media and YouTube and Facebook to reach fans. Like, Banks is not known in the C10, C20 community. So hopefully we can, but a lot of these guys, your audience, right? These guys who drive these C10s, they also have a truck that they drive to work, and it's whether it's gas or diesel, they're full-size truck guys, and we're trying to talk to both audiences and have some fun in the process.
You got to check it out, you guys. It's really well done. It's funny. It's got kind of Archie Bunker 50 style motif with Banks. I
want him to do the I want him to do the front bench seat in the same fabric as Archie Bunker's chair.
Yeah, I mean, it's
has to happen.
Might as well. It'll match the whole truck. Well, I actually like your bench seat. It's kind of an old school leathery thing. I mean, I'm assuming you're going to change it up. He's keeping it 8 lug, and I'm going off of our pod together where we talked about it. You're keeping it 8 lug, Roadster Shop spec. You're going to have the Banks Duramax in it. It's articulating, and whatever that word was that he used, they're copacetically doing something. And I think, and really it is entertaining. You guys do a really good job. The only thing I would say is the one wheel peel to open up episode 1 is so weak, dude. It's absolutely, I mean, it's just like, it was everything it could muster, Ronnie. Just come on.
No, hold on. I will tell you that in episode 7, I want to say,
save it. Just save it.
Okay, I'll save it.
Watch the series, be surprised.
But I like the tease a little bit. So in I think in episode 3 we're going to get to see the dyno numbers. Is that correct? Do we know that yet?
Episode 3 is out. The dyno numbers are public, and we have launched episode 4, which now all of the renderings are public. So this is what it's going to look like. So we have 1 through 4 available on YouTube, Facebook at Banks Power, and of course I've shared them over to at Truck Show Podcast as well, because all of our listeners have been following along.
Yeah, you guys check it out. It's fun, it's entertaining, and it's going to be cool to see the whole journey of Lockjaw and what they do over at Team Banks. Mr. Banks, Gale Banks, is very entertaining. He's funny, and so he's
incredibly smart and charming and sharp as a tack and funny, dude. The guys, he's doing that's what she said jokes. Like it's good time.
Oh, Gale, you can't say that anymore.
No, he does.
He does. But so let's wrap it up, because I know you guys got your pod to actually do tonight. So I appreciate you taking time. What do you guys got? So 2021 individually, give me a little, a little goal. Not truck related, just I mean, kind of like pod related, truck, related balance, because you guys are all doing so much.
Events. I'm hoping to get back out in the real world and get some events. From a podcast standpoint, we're hoping to get out to Daytona Truck Meet. I'm hoping Easter Jeep Safari still happens. I've got some personal goals to finish the Eastern Heritage Trail, the Mojave, out in the Mojave Desert, which is a 700-mile trip in my Jeep. Get out away from people and go do it's supposed to take a couple weeks to do. I'd like to do it in a week. And then my wife and I are getting some stuff done on the house. So slowly but surely, we just replaced our crappy 50-year-old roof with a 30-year-old roof on top of it with a brand new roof. And she decided she didn't like the color of the house, and now we're painting the house. And then with the paint color, she decided she didn't like the garage doors, and so now we're getting new garage doors. And then she decided she didn't like the gates, so apparently we're getting a gate. So that's going to be my 21 is paying all that off.
You can tell who wears the pants in that family, can't you?
Hey, she brings in the coin and lets me go out and have fun. So I just say yes, dear.
It actually sounds like you are a normal guy. That's you've got way more on your plate than you can handle, but you're handling it and you're making it work. Lightning, what do you got? What's your 2021 look like?
Honestly, my goal is just to get the trucks done. And if there's time left over, I'm going to say hi to the kids.
Nice. I like how you said trucks. So I'm kind of associating that with Holman's truck as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, I would like to see both of them at SEMA in the Banks booth, but who knows?
Yeah, don't hold your breath, but see what happens.
It won't be. Neither one will be in the Banks booth, because
at least if they're parked next to each other somewhere with Truck Show Podcast signage, it would be.
They'll
nice.
be. I want to get the most of my money and get it in somebody else's booth, so I can have my own stuff in my booth. So
where are you hoping it to be slotted? What booth are you hoping it to be in?
Lockjaw will either be in Willwood TSW. It will be in.
You're just going down your sponsor list right now.
That's all right.
Yeah, so I have
half of those sponsors might be our sponsors, but
yeah, listen, we're not. We're going to leave it a secret, or let's do this again closer to SEMA, and we'll tell you how far we actually got.
Yeah, let's do that. I like that.
Didn't say, wait, Ronnie.
Yep.
Ronnie, we didn't say that the series is called Banks Built. Banks Built. So if you just go on YouTube, type Banks Built, pop right up.
Yeah, and it's Banks Power is the channel, right? It's under Banks Power. So either way, Banks Built, Lockjaw, you'll see it. I do like one thing I kind of left on the table is you guys have like a few big sponsors where this month all I'm doing is chasing down sponsors. So that's I'm a little jealous of that. One last thing, Holman, what you've seen the magazine world kind of tumble, spill, die, rebirth. Now in our truck world, you've got some really classy magazines coming out. What's your thoughts on that? Since we do have
we'll see it.
guy here on the pod, I'm not gonna let this one go.
I think that I'm hopeful that the pendulums can start swinging the other way as people realize that they're tired of looking at screens and that kind of visceral feel of, looking at a magazine. They realize that they really like that format. And let's face it, nobody wants to be on the shitter with a laptop on their lap when you could grab a magazine. I think the key to magazines now is, not to make them cheaply out of cheap paper and have it $10 a month. I'd rather see some higher quality stuff that could be more like a coffee table magazine, perfect bound, good paper, something that you're proud to leave out in the house, not something that's in a stack in the closet. We're working really hard to keep magazines alive. We've got Motor Trend, Hot Rod, and Four Wheeler are still alive and kicking. And so those are all really important. They're all the oldest magazines in their respective categories. And, we'll see. I think that there's going to become a reckoning for subscription models and for all digital and social, because I think there's an honesty to the print medium that is missing in today's landscape or isn't done well. So I'm hoping that comes back.
Not just honesty for me as I was an avid magazine subscriber, but the quality of writing has gone away.
Yeah, because everybody can self-publish. So everybody is now an expert. I think what a magazine gave you is people who were raised with an ethical code of conduct, with rules, with a journalism background, with a understanding of how to write, how to storytell. I think there's so many quote unquote influencers out there today that are so awful at storytelling, but they have these massive audiences. I always look at the engagement, right? I don't look at the overall numbers, because if somebody has 1 million people and all their posts have 100 comments, who cares? And I think that there's such a scam in the influencer type world. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good people. I think those are brand ambassadors. I think those are the type of people that you want to rep your product regardless of whether you have a relationship with them, because they believe in your product the way you do. I think the influencer game is going to blow up soon, and I'm hoping that some credibility comes back to the media landscape.
Cool. I wish I had my soapbox tune dialed up, soap it up, lather it up.
Anytime you need me on the show.
Yeah, we're going to have
soapbox. Let me know.
We appreciate both of your time. We know you got a lot going on. Check out the YouTube series, and we look forward to just kind of following along for my audience. Obviously, Truck Show Podcast. It's easy money, and you guys appreciate it.
We love you, Ronnie. At Truck Show Podcast on all the socials. I'm at Sean P. Holman or at LBC Lighting if you want to follow us on social. And we appreciate the time, man. Every time that we get to collaborate together, it's always good for both of us. And, we always like talking to you off the air and hanging out. And I swear, next time I come to Arizona, I'm going for a ride in the ladder.
I think I've heard that before, but yeah, I like that. So you guys check it out.
This time.
I'll do it in the show notes. I'll put all the links, especially the YouTube series. Thank you, guys. You can sing along, Holman. It's totally cool.
And the ones that run on gasoline.
The truck
show.
R.I.P. Dustin Diamond. Too soon. All right, let me clear this thing out. Boom. And we are good. Thank you, guys. Good times. Lightning and Holman, Truck Show Podcast. Episode 206 is in the books. Thanks for tuning in. Let those guys know that you're going to jump on over and listen to the Truck Show Podcast if you're not already. Check them out. If you guys like what you heard, leave us a review. C10 Talk, scroll down the bottom of your phone, wherever you listen, give us 5 stars, let us know what you think. You can shoot me an email. If you got a guest, you got an idea. And remember, support those that support you. Our sponsors help so we can continue to bring you kick-ass pod. Support our sponsors. Have a great week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support. Late.